In the endless stretch of the galaxy, where stars flickered like distant jewels, the Galactic Empire reigned supreme, a colossal power that spanned thousands of star systems. To them, Earth was nothing more than a forgotten speck, a primitive world barely worth a glance. The Empire's massive fleets had cruised past the insignificant blue planet countless times, their commanders smirking at its modest technology and simple cultures. They called Earth a joke, a relic clinging to old ways while the rest of the galaxy soared into greatness. On their bridges, Empire officers would laugh quietly, trading stories about the so-called Earthlings who still relied on crude engines, fragile ships, and outdated weapons. Their scholars scoffed at Earth's science, claiming it was primitive and stuck in the past. Unable to grasp the true power of space-time manipulation or energy shields that the Empire mastered long ago, the Empire's belief in their own superiority was absolute. Their fleets, bristling with the most advanced warships ever built, patrolled the star lanes with effortless dominance. No challenge had ever truly tested their might. To their will, species bowed or were crushed, and their technology seemed unmatched, their reach unchallenged. Meanwhile, Earth remained a quiet world, focused on its own affairs. Unaware of the full extent of the Empire's contempt, the humans were busy building and exploring. But always within the limits set by their own cautious minds and slower progress, they looked up at the stars with wonder, but the stars seemed distant and cold, the vastness of space, a daunting frontier. They had no idea that their world was dismissed with a laugh, a simple punchline to a cosmic joke told in the halls of the Empire's great ships. Yet beneath that dismissive exterior, the Empire's certainty hid a dangerous flaw, blindness born of arrogance. For in their confidence, the Empire never stopped to consider that humans, so often underestimated, might be quietly weaving plans of their own. They never imagined that this joke of a planet might hold secrets they had yet to discover. Earth's simplicity was not weakness. It was a shield for something unexpected. The Empire's fleets moved with predictable power, slow to change tactics, relying on overwhelming force. Their captains believed victory was a matter of strength, in numbers convinced no small world could challenge their might. The stars were theirs by right, and any who dared oppose them were swiftly crushed. But in the quiet corners of Earth's laboratories and command centers, a different kind of hope was growing. Scientists and soldiers worked together, dreaming of ways to leap beyond the slow, grinding progress that had held humanity back. They studied physics not just as theory, but as a tool to reshape their place in the galaxy. The humans were determined to prove that Earth was not a joke, not a backwater, but a rising power with something unique to offer. Still, they moved carefully, knowing the Empire's gaze was always watching, even if that gaze was filled with scorn. The tension hung like a silent storm, waiting for the first sign of change. Meanwhile, the Empire's officers went about their duties with the usual pride. In the grand halls of the flagship, discussions of strategy and conquest flowed freely. No one thought to question the old assumptions. Earth was beneath notice. The galaxy was too large, too full of worthy enemies, to waste time on a planet that could barely defend itself. Yet, as the Empire's fleets glided through the void, a subtle undercurrent of unease began to ripple through their ranks. Whispers spoke of strange signals detected near Earth, odd bursts of energy that did not fit any known pattern. Some dismissed these as mere anomalies, others as glitches in sensors. But a few officers paused, their faces hardening with suspicion. If Earth was not as simple as it seemed, what if behind its humble facade lay something new, something that could disrupt the balance of power? These questions were quickly buried beneath the Empire's pride, but they lingered like shadows at the edge of consciousness. The galaxy had never seen a power like the Empire rise without challenge before. It was easy to forget that even the greatest empires could fall. For now, Earth remained a joke, a quiet world beneath the Empire's towering gaze. But in the depths of human resolve, something stirred a fire, waiting to blaze across the stars and change everything. The Empire had no idea that the time of mockery was nearing its end, that the planet they laughed at was preparing to reveal its true strength. And when that day came, The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again, deep within the hidden halls of Earth's Space Command. Far from the eyes of the public and most military officers, a small group of scientists and engineers were working on a project so secret that even many top officials doubted its existence. This was not just any project. It was humanity's most ambitious attempt yet to break free from the limits of conventional space travel. For years, Earth had struggled to keep pace with the vast technology of the Galactic Empire, which had mastered faster-than-light travel and controlled huge fleets across the stars. But now, in this quiet corner of Earth's defenses, a new technology was beginning to take shape: teleportation. Not of small objects or data, but entire starships moved instantly from one place to another. It was a concept that had only lived in theory and science fiction until now. The energy signatures coming from their experimental device were unlike anything anyone had seen before. At first, the readings were faint, just tiny ripples in space-time that only the most sensitive instruments could detect. But as the tests progressed, the signal grew stronger, pulsing with an irregular pattern that hinted at something powerful, yet unstable. Some scientists believed they had discovered a way to fold space, creating a bridge between 2 points, light years apart. But the risk was enormous. Miscalculations could tear a ship apart or send it to unknown, dangerous locations. While the researchers pored over data and refined their theories, word of the signal slowly leaked to Earth's military leadership. The response was mixed. Many officers were skeptical, unwilling to trust a technology so unproven and dangerous. They had seen too many projects fail or cause accidents. Teleporting entire ships? It's reckless. One general argued during a closed-door meeting, his voice thick with doubt. We don't even know if it's possible without destroying our fleet. Others feared that focusing on such a risky experiment could divert resources from more reliable defenses. Yet there were also those among the top brass who recognized the potential. They saw beyond the risks, imagining what it would mean to have a weapon or a tool that could bypass enemy lines instantly, striking where the enemy least expected. To them, this was the chance to change the game, to show the Empire that Earth was not just a primitive backwater, but a force to be reckoned with. After intense debate, the decision was made to move forward cautiously, but with purpose. A small fleet of experimental starships would be equipped with the new teleportation technology. The plan was daring: to teleport this fleet directly into a region controlled by the Empire, where their forces could not ignore the sudden human presence. This bold move was meant not only to test the technology, but to send a message, a warning to the Empire that Earth had evolved beyond their mockery. Preparations were secret and hurried, with every step monitored closely by scientists and military commanders alike. Engineers worked day and night to stabilize the teleportation systems, while tactical officers trained the fleet in new combat techniques that would take advantage of their ability to appear and disappear at will. The atmosphere was tense, filled with a mix of hope and fear. Some feared failure would bring disaster, exposing Earth's vulnerabilities and provoking a harsh response from the Empire. Others felt a deep excitement, sensing that this could be the turning point humanity had long awaited. As the moment of truth approached, communications were sealed, and the world held its breath.
Oh, no.
No one outside the inner circle knew exactly what was happening. The first test was set to take place near the edge of the solar system, far from Earth's population centers, in the shadow of a small asteroid field. At the control center, the lead scientist gave a final nod, and the fleet prepared for the jump. The teleportation chamber hummed with energy, blue and green lights flickering along the ship's hulls. Then, in a flash, the ships vanished from one spot and reappeared miles away, their movements instantaneous and flawless. The room erupted in cheers, but the team knew this was only the beginning. Next, they planned the most dangerous step: the fleet into the Empire's controlled space right in front of their warships. The risks were enormous, but the reward was greater if successful. It would prove that Earth could fight on equal footing with the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. The Empire, still unaware of the true nature of the strange signals, continued their usual patrols, confident that their dominance was unchallenged. But soon they would be forced to face an enemy who had learned to bend the very fabric of space itself. The quiet corner of Earth's Space Command, once overlooked and underestimated, had become the birthplace of a revolution that could shake the galaxy to its core. Suspense hung heavy as the countdown began, and everyone waited to see if humanity's bold gamble would pay off or end in disaster. The signal that had once seemed like a curiosity was now a beacon of hope, a sign that Earth was ready to step out of the shadows and claim its place among the stars. The moment had arrived. Without any prior warning, the human fleet that had trained in secret, hidden from the eyes of both their own people and the vast galactic empire, suddenly appeared in the depths of space where the Empire's mighty forces were massed. Dozens of human starships blinked into existence, materializing like a sudden storm in the heart of a calm sea. Right within the contested sector that had long been a battleground between the Empire and rival factions, the vast Empire fleet, confident in its size and strength, was caught completely off guard. Their commanders, accustomed to ruling the stars with unquestioned power, watched in disbelief as these small but resolute ships appeared out of nowhere, disrupting their formations and breaking the flow of their patrol. Alarms blared through the bridges of the Empire's warships, and frantic commands echoed as officers scrambled to understand this unprecedented threat. Their advanced sensors were struggling to track the human fleet, which moved with an erratic pattern unlike anything they had encountered before. Unlike the large, slow-moving vessels of the Empire, the human ships were smaller and fewer in number, but they held an advantage no one had anticipated: the ability to teleport, to vanish, and reappear at will. This ability allowed the humans to launch sudden strikes and retreat before the Empire's vast firepower could respond. The human commanders had planned this moment carefully, knowing their fleet could never win in a direct battle of numbers or sheer strength. Instead, they used teleportation to their advantage, striking swiftly at key targets and then disappearing into thin air, reappearing behind enemy lines or in unexpected locations. This unpredictable style of warfare confused the Empire's officers, who relied on predictable formations and overwhelming force. The humans' ability to constantly change their position made their ships nearly impossible to target. One moment, a human cruiser would fire on an Empire battleship from the front. The next, it would vanish and reappear near the enemy's supply vessels, cutting off reinforcements. The Empire's response was chaotic, their largest ships firing blindly into empty space, their fleets trying to regroup and anticipate where the humans would strike next. The smaller human ships, designed for speed and agility, darted in and out of combat zones like shadows, striking with precision and retreating before the Empire could retaliate. On the bridge of the human flagship, the commander's voice was calm but firm, issuing orders that made full use of their teleportation technology. The crew worked in perfect harmony, knowing that their survival depended on careful timing and coordination. Each teleportation jump was calculated to avoid enemy fire, exploit weaknesses, and maximize damage. The Empire's captains soon realized that their usual tactics were useless. Their massive warships, built for slow, powerful strikes, were at a disadvantage against these rapid and elusive attackers. They tried to adjust, forming tighter formations and deploying faster interceptors, but the humans' teleportation made it nearly impossible to lock onto a single target. Suspicion and fear began to spread through the Empire fleet. How could these small ships have such advanced technology? Was Earth truly as backward as they had believed, or was there something more hidden beneath the surface? The suddenness and boldness of the human attack unsettled even the most experienced commanders, forcing them to reconsider their long-held assumptions. Meanwhile, back on Earth, military leaders and scientists monitored the battle closely, their hearts pounding as the fleet executed maneuvers that had been tested only in simulations. Every successful strike and every narrow escape was a victory not just of technology, but of human determination and creativity. The battle was not just a fight for control of space. It was a fight to prove that humanity belonged among the stars. As the conflict raged, the Empire's large ships began to suffer serious losses. Several battleships were crippled by coordinated human attacks that struck from multiple directions at once. The humans used teleportation not only for offense but also to rescue damaged ships, pulling them out of harm's way before the Empire could finish them off. This tactic demoralized the Empire's crews, who had never faced an enemy that could so easily escape destruction. The unexpected nature of the human fleet's teleportation allowed them to strike at supply lines, communication arrays, and command ships, creating confusion and delaying the Empire's attempts to organize a counterattack. The larger the Empire's fleet grew, the more chaotic their response became. Some commanders suggested retreating to regroup, but others insisted on pressing forward, unwilling to admit that the humans were no ordinary foe. The psychological impact of the teleporting fleet was as powerful as the physical damage they inflicted. The Empire's officers, who had always been confident in their supremacy, now found themselves questioning the limits of their power. The battle stretched across the sector. A cat-and-mouse chase played out in the void of space, where teleportation gave the humans the edge. Time and again, human ships blinked out of one location and reappeared where the Empire least expected, delivering rapid strikes before vanishing again. The unpredictability of the humans' moves forced the Empire to slow down and rethink their strategies, a rare moment of hesitation in their otherwise relentless advance. Though the humans were outnumbered, they fought with a fierce intelligence and adaptability that the Empire had never encountered. Their tactics combined rapid teleportation with coordinated attacks that exploited weak points in the enemy's lines, turning the battle into a test of wits as much as firepower. This unexpected challenge sent ripples through the political and military circles of the Empire, raising concerns about the stability of their control over the galaxy. The presence of Earth's fleet suddenly and boldly in the middle of the Empire's forces was a clear message. Humanity was no longer the weak, insignificant world they had believed. The humans had changed the rules of engagement and forced the Empire to face a new kind of war. As the battle continued, it became clear that this fight was more than just a skirmish. It was the beginning of a larger conflict that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The Empire, despite its overwhelming size, was vulnerable to a smaller, smarter enemy that could strike unpredictably and vanish before retaliation. And humanity, once mocked and dismissed, was proving that it had the courage and the technology to challenge the greatest force in the stars. This bold move by Earth's fleet had shattered centuries of assumptions and opened a new chapter in galactic history, a chapter where the underdog was no longer a joke, but a rising power capable of turning the tide with speed, surprise, and unyielding will. The shock of humanity's sudden and daring attack sent waves of confusion and disbelief, rippling through the heart of the Galactic Empire. For centuries, the Empire had relied on its unmatched numbers, overwhelming firepower, and advanced technology to keep its vast territories under control. Its fleets were massive, its soldiers numerous, and its rulers confident that no enemy could stand against them. Yet now this belief was crumbling before their eyes. The humans, once dismissed as primitive and insignificant, had shown an ability that defied every expectation. They bent space to their will, teleporting entire fleets into the Empire's strongest positions, striking without warning, then vanishing before any meaningful counterattack could be launched. The Empire's commanders were forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. Their most trusted tactics and weapons were no longer enough. This was not a battle of sheer force. It was a contest of wits, speed, and technology that changed the rules of engagement. As news of the human fleet's unexpected victory spread quickly through the Empire's communication networks, the reaction was immediate and widespread. Across countless worlds and star systems, soldiers, citizens, and leaders alike learned that Earth, once mocked as a backwater planet, had dealt a serious blow to the Empire's forces. This revelation shattered the illusion of invincibility that had surrounded the Empire for so long. Whispers began to spread among the various species under the Empire's rule, species that had long lived in fear or quiet obedience, now daring to hope that perhaps the mighty Empire was not as unstoppable as they had believed. The humans' courage and clever use of technology sparked admiration and inspired new alliances. As old enemies and allies reconsidered their positions in the galaxy, for the first time, many saw Earth not as a distant joke, but as a symbol of resilience and ingenuity. Within the Empire's own ranks, fear and uncertainty grew. Military leaders found themselves questioning the old ways of warfare and the reliability of their once trusted strategies. Debates erupted in high command chambers, where some urged caution and a reevaluation of tactics, while others called for an immediate, overwhelming counterattack to crush this new threat before it could grow. The political leaders concerned about the message this human challenge sent to the galaxy scrambled to contain the damage, worried that the Empire's grip might be loosening. Meanwhile, humanity continued to press its advantage. The human fleet, though smaller and less numerous, had shown it could strike at the Empire's vulnerable points and retreat before a response could be formed. Their use of teleportation technology had given them the upper hand, allowing them to control the tempo of battle and keep the Empire off balance. The humans were not just fighting with weapons, they were fighting with ideas, creativity, and the will to survive against overwhelming odds. This fight was more than military, it was a test of spirit and determination, qualities that the humans had nurtured through centuries of hardship and growth. As the Empire reeled from the shock, new opportunities opened for humanity's allies and potential friends. Several species that had been oppressed or sidelined under the Empire's rule began to reach out, seeking to learn more about Earth's technology and its intentions. The humans, understanding the power of alliances, shared knowledge carefully, building trust and cooperation. The galaxy, long divided and dominated by fear, started to show signs of change. The story of Earth's unexpected strike became a legend, told in hushed tones on distant worlds, inspiring those who dreamed of freedom and a future where no empire could dictate their fate. Even within the Empire, cracks appeared. Some soldiers began to question the morality of their leaders' endless conquests, wondering if the humans represented a new path forward, one where strength was measured not just by power but by innovation and courage. As the tension grew, the Empire found itself at a crossroads. It could either adapt, embracing new ideas and technologies to face this emerging challenge, or cling stubbornly to old ways and risk collapse. The choice was not easy, and the coming days promised to be filled with difficult decisions and fierce battles. Yet through it all, humanity remained steadfast, driven not by arrogance, but by a deep belief in their right to exist and thrive among the stars. They had shown the galaxy that even those who had been laughed at could rise and reshape the destiny of entire civilizations. The Empire's shock was only the beginning. The real story was just starting to unfold, a story where the underdog challenged the mighty, where hope grew in the face of fear, and where the future of the galaxy would be written by those brave enough to seize it. In the silence after the storm, one thing was clear. Earth was no longer a joke. It was a force to be reckoned with. And the Empire had been forced to reckon with the rise of a new power, born not of size or history, but of heart, mind, and the unyielding will to survive. The galaxy had shifted on its axis. For centuries, the Galactic Empire had ruled with iron certainty, its vast armadas and ancient traditions leaving little room for challenge or negotiation. But now, Earth, the once ridiculed, underestimated blue planet, had forced the Empire to do something it had not done in generations, to sit at the negotiation table. The aftershocks of humanity's unexpected and daring strike echoed throughout the cosmos, reverberating far beyond the contested sector where their fleet had teleported into the heart of the Empire's forces. The Empire's pride was wounded, its commanders wary and uncertain, as they realized that this new player was not just a fleeting threat, but a force capable of shaping the future of galactic politics. Earth's rise was more than a military victory. It was a signal that the old order was changing. Across star systems, diplomats, and leaders from countless species watched closely as Earth stepped forward with confidence and purpose. Unlike many who sought power through intimidation or conquest, humanity offered something new: old alliances built on mutual respect, shared knowledge, and innovation. The humans understood that survival in the vast and dangerous galaxy required cooperation, adaptability, and the courage to embrace change. Behind their calm demeanor was a determination to ensure that Earth's place among the stars would not be fleeting or symbolic, but lasting and influential. Earth's leaders prepared carefully for the coming era of interstellar diplomacy and defense. They knew the road ahead would be complex and fraught with challenges. Old rivalries, deep-seated fears, and competing interests would not vanish overnight. Yet, humanity's recent success had shown that even the mightiest empire could be challenged when met with intelligence and resolve. The human fleet's teleportation technology was only the beginning. It represented a new way of thinking about war and peace, about how power could be wielded in a universe that had long been ruled by brute force and fear. Negotiations with the Empire began slowly and cautiously. The Empire's representatives arrived with suspicion and pride, expecting Earth to bend to their will. Instead, they found a partner who would stand firm, insisting on equality and fairness. This unexpected stance unsettled many in the Empire's ranks, forcing them to reconsider what true power meant in this new era.
Eyes.
Who had watched from the sidelines, uncertain and hesitant, were now inspired by humanity's boldness and vision. Several sought closer ties with Earth, recognizing that the blue planet's innovative approach could open doors to new technologies, shared defense, and economic growth. The galaxy's political landscape began to shift. With Earth becoming a central figure in discussions that would shape the future, the human diplomats worked tirelessly, balancing the desire for peace with the need to remain vigilant against threats. Their message was clear. Cooperation, not domination, was the key to survival and prosperity. Yet beneath the surface, preparations for defense continued. The Empire, though shaken, was not defeated. Its leaders knew that their pride and power were on the line, and they quietly strengthened their forces, aware that future conflicts might arise. Humanity, too, remained ready, understanding that the galaxy was vast and unpredictable. The legend of Earth's sudden rise spread across stars and worlds, becoming a symbol of hope and possibility for many. Tales of a small planet that had bent space itself to challenge an empire inspired those who dreamed of freedom and change. Earth had rewritten the rules of galactic power, proving that courage, ingenuity, and unity could overcome even the greatest obstacles. The galaxy was watching, waiting to see what the next chapter would bring. As Earth prepared to take its place among the great powers, it carried with it the hopes of its people and the promise of a future where no world was too small to make a difference. The era of the underestimated was over. Humanity had arrived, not as a conqueror, but as a new player, ready to shape the destiny of the stars with wisdom, strength, and an unbreakable spirit.